Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. Now, what I've done is this. Now, this is when I create, I keep my document very simple, and I just because I want to use layers to kind of build my ideas on top of one another. Now, what I do is I set my layers, channels, and paths in its own group here. I'm just going to pull this up a little bit because sometimes some of the tools we're going to use it's going to have it's going to need the use of the properties panel. So I'm going to take the properties panel. I'm going to click and hold on the tab, drag it to the bottom here, and you'll see a blue little highlight there. And if I release it, it's going to attach that to the bottom. So if I grab this dark blue edge in the very top corner, it'll move everything as one group. Okay. And I might want to just put my mouse on the bottom, get that double arrow symbol, and just push it up like so. There we go. All right. Now, when you open up Photoshop, when you load it on, you have a whole bunch of panels on here. I close all those out in favor of the panels that I have here. Layers, channels, paths, my color, and my Adobe color themes there. Okay, that's going to help me out. And if I'm going to pull it up a little bit more so you can see a little bit of everything. Over here, your toolbar is normally a single layer. See the little double, that little far left hand corner, get a little double arrow there. Click it, that'll toggle between your single layer to your double layer. I prefer you to use the double layer option here. All right, now let's go back to layers. Right up here on the right hand side, I have my layers panel. I'm going to click on the word layer and I have a panel. Notice that my background is white and I made a brand new layer. I'm going to delete this layer so that you can see how to create it for those who may not be as familiar with Photoshop, the basics of Photoshop. So keep in mind is even though I'm not going into advanced or intermediate features in Photoshop, what I'm doing is applying Photoshop for web design primarily. So hopefully everybody in the class has some working knowledge of just the basics of how to use layers in Photoshop and the pen tool and so forth. So when you create your new document, you're going to get this single background here. I had created a new layer before I started the video recording. But what I like to do is create a brand new layer to start creating it in there. So right down here in the bottom of your layers panel, you see a little a garbage can symbol to the far right. Just to the left of it, click that icon, and what that does is it will add a brand new layer. So if I turn off the visual aspects of the bottom background layer, which is white by design or by color, I click off the eyeball, you're going to see that little checker pattern there, which represents a clear sheet of acetate for you to draw on. Now, what does this mean? Compared to how it was used traditionally in design. So what you would do as a designer, if you want to create a logo or if you're drawing it out and you need to record it so that it can be printed out with color separations, you had a clear sheet of acetate that you did all your painting on, and then you worked on one acetate, lay another sheet on top of that, do more painting on top of that as you lay things down on layers so that you can create your logo from that, from your finished design of all those various layers. And that's what we're dealing with here. Okay, so if I turn on the eyeball on the left hand side, the background, that's going to turn on my background. And once again, as we all are probably well aware of, whichever one I have selected with a left click and release, whichever layer is selected, that's the one that will be active. Okay, so we're going to start here. I'm not quite sure what color I want to use for my logo yet, but it doesn't matter at this point, as we can alter the color at any time. So let's go ahead and I'm going to probably print with several different colors so I can use layers to kind of place ideas or design ideas on top of one another. So I'm going to go over here to my brush tool. So I can hit the B on the keyboard for the brush, or it's going to be the number 5th tool down on the left hand side. So I'm using what's called a Wacom Tablet. It's not required for you to use it, but because I'm an artist, I like to draw and paint with my stylus. Okay, if you're interested in the tablet and using it for your workflow, what you'll do is you'll go over here to Wacom.com. So www.wacom.com. .com, and there you go. So I'm using, if I go to the products, I'm going to be using the Intuos Pro. I'm going to come right over here to the third one over, down at the bottom. It says Intuos Pro, and it's going to be a tablet that's going to connect in through USB. So some of you are probably already have this. If this interests you, I highly recommend Wacom. You'll pay a little bit more for most than any other tablet in the industry, but you're getting the top quality professional product. This is going to be industry standard for any design studio that you go to work for. If budget is an issue, there's other companies like XP Pen, and I'm going to go xppen.com. And there we are, xppen.com, and they too have a variety of products or tablets for a lot less money. Okay, so if I go over here to the tablet right here, let's see, I have different versions. Go ahead and should show all, and if we scroll down, there they all are, and the price structures are like $49 to $58 to $85. They'll do very close to the Wacom tablet. But for a lot less money. Let's see. I think I saw another version. We got a smaller tablet. Okay, you've got 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity. That's the same as the Wacom. So just be aware that these are some of the tools that when you want to be creative in your design, you're going to be working in Photoshop a lot to do that. And the stylus really helps out. Okay, let's get back into Photoshop. Okay, some people like to draw with the standard, circular. I like to have a little bit more texture and character when I'm creating my design. And again, we're going to rework them by creating vector shapes from them. But when I'm creating from my mind, I like to kind of be a little bit rough about it. And everybody's different. Okay, so for me, the purpose at this point is just to flesh out some design idea. This is what I would like you guys to do for your initial project. Just kind of draw out some of your ideas as to where your logo, how it might look, and where you would like it to go. So I'm going to go up here to my my brush panel, and if I come to the third icon over on my options bar, because all of your tools have an option, I'm going to click that little brush symbol there. Actually, the third icon is that brush symbol there. And I know that I custom created some brushes in the past. I'm going to go find, let's see, my special effects brushes. This maybe in here, but all right. If you so choose to use a tablet, I'm going to go over here, like I mentioned, to the third button here. I'm going to click it again. I'm going to go right over to the third icon. Once again, click it, and you may have the newer version of Photoshop. I prefer to work with the legacy brushes from the original versions. To do so, go to your little gear right up here in the top right-hand corner. Select it, and target legacy brushes. And then what that'll do is that'll bring back those original brushes. Restore the legacy brushes brush set. Yes, click OK. And I'm going to come back to here, and I have what's called dry media brushes. You should see a folder called dry media brushes. I prefer one of these dry brushes here. So there's my leg. Let's go back up here to the top. Okay, dry media brushes, and in fact, if I go down here to here's my legacy brushes here. Find a legacy brush folder, and I'm going to find within there one of these little brushes that's going to have that. It says chalk brush. I want to use a chalk brush here. I love the texture of this thing. I'm going to select it. Okay, now if you see this, now again, you don't have to use this brush. This is just what I like to do. It gives me a little bit of edgy texture to it, which might be kind of nice for creating my logo ideas. It's very blocky. I can block in shapes. I can keep it, very linear if I want to. And if you notice, I have an additional layer up here. I created that new layer. Hit the Command A for select all. It gives you selection all around your document so that I can hit the delete key. It's like Etch-a-Sketch. I want to play with this and decide that that's not what I want. I'll hit the delete key like so. I'm gonna do now. If you're using a mouse, you won't be able to activate this next feature I'm going to show you. But if you are using a stylus, you are going to be able to activate it. And that is, if I come right over here to the fourth icon, you see a little folder with the brush on it. If I click on it, I'm going to get what's called this brush settings folder. And what I want to do is I want to use my stylus and use it to tilt it, so I can tilt the shape of my brush. So I'm going to apply some settings. We're going to make some adjustments. So go to my shape dynamics, and I'm going to put some links for those of you who have Wacom tablets. You can go back and actually make customized brushes if you like. I'll give you additional links just for that, just for the fun of it. So if I go to my shape dynamics, I want to tilt this. I'm going to go to my angle option, the angle jitter, and tell it to utilize the rotation of my pen. And look, and so that I can rotate my brush, okay? All right, so I have that out. You can see it's slightly rotated there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the transfer option, and I'm going to tell it to have pen pressure so that the pressure of the pen is going to give me a lighter effect or a darker effect. If you don't have the Wacom stylus, you'll have to make your opacity adjustments up here. On your options bar, you'll see opacity here. Let's go ahead and bring it down, say something around 29% or so. And the more you paint on top of it, the more it starts to build up as I come across the screen. You're welcome to do that. That's for all those who are using a mouse. All right, I'll just keep it there just for now. Let's go ahead and now making your brush bigger and smaller. Look to the right side of the P key on your keyboard. The bracket to the right makes it bigger, and the bracket to the left makes it smaller. If you want the new way of doing it, it's Alt right click for PC users, drag left to right, and Control Option left click for Mac users to drag left to right. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and clean that up, and let's think about ways to think about my logo. I'm going to come up here, hit the T key on the keyboard for the text. T for text. Let's go ahead and close that out. I don't need this. It's taking me into the text editing tool. And of course, I have options up here in terms of the fonts that I want to use. So I can play with those as well. And as a big reminder, I'm going to tap in here, and I believe I'm going to go to caps lock on this one, and use my initials, so S, M, and B. Okay, and hit enter on the keyboard, or click the little checkbox up here in your options bar to commit your changes. Command or Control T for free transform. Once I have that, I can click and hold on the corner just to make it a little bit bigger, just to show exactly what I'm looking for. Now, you're welcome to play around with the font styles as well, to complement your initial logo or your monogram. And I'm going to commit my changes again by hitting it. This time I'll hit the check mark right up there. There we go. If you want to play around with various styles of fonts on your options bar, once your text tool is selected, if I go to the top here, I can kind of scroll down here. And in fact, let's move this on over so we can see it. I'm going to hit the F key on the keyboard to go to full frame mode. There's 3 different viewing modes. One, standard, full frame viewing, and the viewing with black. It's good to only do this in a full frame so that you have a neutral environment, so that the full black in this case doesn't mess with your eye, to make your brain believe that there's more contrast and color that there really is here to work in. So hit the F key, go to the second mode, which allows me to hold the spacebar key down and kind of move my document from corner to corner or zoom in. Okay, so Control plus, Control minus zooms in and zooms out. Okay, that's an option there. If I want to modify Well, again, still in my text tool, but I want to modify the font. Let's go bring it over to the right here so that this doesn't get in the way. Drop it down, and I can use my arrow keys to just kind of mess around with this. Okay. So this may give you ideas for your particular style, but I'm going to want you to add some type of a vector aspect to your design so that you're creating something that's a little bit more unique than just creating text for this assignment. Okay, so that's there. I'm going to go ahead and just leave it alone at this point. This is just a reminder as to what I'm using for it. I'm going to think about creative ways to do this. Okay, I'm going to. I think I accidentally deleted my independent layer, so I'm going to go ahead and just make a new one, and I'll put a Command A for select all because I'm in the layer right underneath my text. I'll turn the text on and off. Okay, let's play around with this. I'm going to think about ways to create my text. So, or create my anagram. Let's go to the B key on the keyboard. I think it's already selected. Let's go ahead and make the brush a little larger. And if you find that you have this little, what's called a fine point cursor, and when you're using the brush, it's because your caps lock key is on. Turn off your caps lock, and it brings back your actual brush. All right, so let's play around with some ideas. We're going to start with just kind of the basic shapes, the S and the M. How can I integrate that together? And I'm kind of like a sci-fi type guy. I like futuristic type of stuff. And I'm going to take that S and I'm going to just bring it across like this. I'm going to start it this way. Okay. If I hit the E key for the eraser, and while I'm in the eraser tool, I can right click on the desktop and go get that brush that I created, or apply that chalk brush, I should say, for the eraser tool, and of course I can erase this out. All right, I can also go back to my B, hit the B key on the keyboard. That takes me right back to brush. Let me go ahead and work with more solid colors. I'm going to come right over here and start with the S this way. I'm just playing. And I'm thinking, well, what can I do with this one here? Can I make the other end of the S like so? Or make a shape that simulates an S that may connect with an aspect of the M. Hit the E key for the eraser and just kind of pull this on out like so. So I'm just exploring here possibilities. Hit the B key because I don't want this to be an obvious M. That's easy to do. I want something to be a little bit more interesting. There we go. And I think what I'll do is I'll start the M down here, give it let the viewer's mind connect this. Hit the E key here and just kind of erase that off there. Going to my brush again. Hit the B for the brush. I might bring that brush a little bit smaller, and then pull this out like so. You'll do something like this, and then bring this down. So if I hold the shift key, I'm going to go back a little bit, tap here, hold the shift key, I get a straight line going right down, and then maybe I'll stop it here. Okay, let's pull this back. And from here, that's kind of going to simulate my M, but this is a little bit too far away. I want to go over here to my Lasso Tool, which allows me to freehand lasso any shapes on my layer. Here's my layer, and because that's selected, hit the move tool, top left hand corner, click and hold, grab the move tool, and I can move this around. So maybe we'll bring it closer like this for the M. Again, I'm just exploring ideas, And then the B, I'm thinking hit the B key on the keyboard for the brush. Then the B, I want to do something like this and bring it out like that. So you kind of have this, I think this S here. Well, we'll just start it from here, like an SMB. Okay, that's an idea. All right, so looking at this, in fact, I think I want to go a little bit more of a horizontal, a little more of a landscape perspective on this one. So go ahead and hit the C key for the crop tool. The crop tool is on the left-hand side, and all I have to do is just draw the crop tool over the entire surface and go to the right-hand side, get the double arrow, pull it out. Now, noticing everything is constrained, so hold the Shift key, and that will unconstrain it. Okay, or I can clear the ratio. If I clear this, that might do it. All right, hold the Shift key, pull it out a little bit more. Okay, that'll help a little bit. Okay, now my bottom layer is of course the white is chopped off here, so what I'm going to do is do this instead. Look at the circle here, so half white, half dark. That's going to give me what's called a solid, all my adjustment layers. This allows me to apply a solid color, the very top one, right down here in the bottom, and instead I don't want black, I'm going to click this here. The color dialog box comes up. I'm clicking the left hand side, go grab the white and click OK. So what that means is this. I'm going to go delete this original layer that was there. With that color fill adjustment layer, it's going to adjust the color all across my canvas if I want to change the size. So if I go to my C key and say I want a square, something squarish again, and hit delete. Oh, you know what? I want to make it bigger again. I'll come over here, make it bigger, longer, like this. All right, pull this out. Go hit my Shift key, pull it out like so, and it fills the background automatically with that white. That's what's so nice about this here. All right, I'm going to hit undo, and let's go play again. So I'm going to go grab another color, something maybe like a little bit of a, a dark red or so. Hit the B key for my brush, and I'm going to go explore some other ideas. Maybe the idea I'm liking. Now, before I do so, I'm going to make another layer. So I'm going to make sure that that one that I'm working in, the layer I was working in, is highlighted. Hit the new layer button to the left-hand side of the garbage can, and I can start with a fresh shape. So I'm not going to affect the one on the bottom. So I'm going to make some modifications. So I'm liking what I did, but I think this can be a little more refined. In other words, this line here, if I get in a little closer, this line here is pointing directly to the M. To me, it lacks flow. I want to get some rhythm in this, so I'm going to make it a slight adjustment. I'm going to go over here and grab this and then pull it down and let it point down this way just to see how that works. Then I think I'll keep this aspect of it here. And this time I'm going to hold the Shift key to bring it up, Shift key to bring it over, Shift key to bring it down, Shift, 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 and it constrains it, right? So SM, I'm still liking the B as this simple backwards 3 shape like this. Okay, I can turn off the one on the bottom and kind of compare see if I like this a little better. So I'm liking the S better. I'm not too sure about the blocky shapes here. All right, so we'll put a new layer right on top of that, and we're going to play with this. Now I'm going to close up the properties so we can extend this down. So let's play some more. This time, let's get something a little more, interesting. I guess a better way to put it. Let's go ahead and change the color. Go to the foreground, grab a green this time. Okay, and let's do something a little different. So this time, I'm going to pull this around. I'm liking the S where it starts here, come around, and maybe point down this way. Here, I'm going to give a visual connection. Pull this a little smaller, where it comes across, down and around, and then just a little tap like this. The M, I don't see a reason why we need to connect this line. I think this line, this thick line here, is stopping the flow, the visual flow. So why don't we just grab this and create a hint of the left side of the M. And that's it for that side. Then I would say, okay, let's suggest a hint of the M this way. And let's bring this down. I'm going to go ahead and make this brush a little smaller for you to see why, just a moment, for a reason. If I tap here, now I'll hold down the shift. It might take me down to something like, let's take it down to the shift, make a line, and then make something like an arrow, so to speak. Kind of comes down. Hit the E key, come back, and then here, and again, I'm just exploring possibilities. Tap and release and do a straight line, shift key. Oops, I want to make sure I'm in the B key. I wasn't in the brush tool. So I'll come here and then shift, bring it straight down. That creates the semblance of an M, and once again create that there we go, that B there. It comes down to the side. Alright, so I'm going to turn off the one on the bottom and start playing around with shapes. Kind of an SMB. Now, I think I might want to even consider altering this to a 3D shape of some sort. Again, I'm just experimenting. Alright, let's look at some other possibilities. Maybe we'll make a new layer. And we'll start on top of this one. How about if we create, there's a new layer there. Let's go ahead and create a different color. Let's tap on it. Cool. Let's go to something maybe like a, well, let's see. Get a different type of a blue there, a type of a blue. In fact, let's go to more of a brighter, more of an orangish right on top. I think that'll work. Okay. All right, now let's think about this. Think of something a little more linear this time. So what I'll do is I'm going to start here. Oops, X key, there we go. Start it here, shift, and I'm going to go here, shift, down to here, shift. I'm going to keep it very linear, probably closer to the tip right about there. Okay, now what I'm going to do with the tap here, shift to the side, I'm going to kind of make it kind of pointy, kind of make it thicker right about there. I'll bring it down a little thicker here, tap and release and grab that. And I'm going to taper it down to this point. So I'll make the brush just a little smaller. Tap here and shift keeps a straight line in between those areas, okay? And I'm creating something a little bit more interesting. So based off of freehand stuff, I'm starting to create something a little bit more graphical, okay? Something, okay, all right, not bad. So why not we do something similar here? So here, I'll make kind of a little bit of a diagonal, like so, okay? And then I'm gonna come here, go straight down to the bottom, and I'll make this a little thicker, go straight to the bottom, and I'll make a line from here, and again, holding the shift key, keeping it linear. I think I hold the shift key to go up and then the shift key to do something like that. All right, now I'm starting to like this a little better. I want this end to taper over to the left. I want to taper off to the left. So target here, taper there. Okay, so if we get in closer, oops, I want to get in, zoom in closer to this here. I'm going to fill this in here by making the brush a little bigger. Okay. Holding tap and release, holding the shift key, and that'll just fill that in very quickly. Okay, See where we, oops, that's an accident there. Okay, so we're starting to create something a little more interesting, I think. And we're going to do the same thing up here. Same tapering technique. So start here, holding the shift key, and I'm going to take it down, start here, tap and release, and I'm going to make the brush smaller because I really want to taper it nice and tight right about there. This is going to be the the left hand side of my M. Shift, let's go tap this, shift, there it is. Now from here, shift, and we'll do this here. From here, tap and release, shift, and do that there. Okay, that's working. I'm going to just make the brush bigger and just fill all this in very quickly. And again, I can use my shift key and just, there we go. Okay. All right. Kind of liking this here. Let's go over and let's start the other side of the center portion of the M. The M as in Mark is my middle name. I think what I'll do here is start here. In fact, I'm going to bring it on. I'm going to move this over a little bit. So I'm going to bring it on like so. Okay. Bring it a little tighter. I will start from here, tap and release to there. And let's go ahead and tap and release. I think I'm going to go halfway up on this one. Bring it this way. Tap and release like so to there. Start from here and start creating. There we go. Hit the E key for the eraser tool. I'm going to erase this. That's not what I want. I'm going to erase this here too as well. And I'm just playing around with what this could look like. I didn't mean to erase that. I want to hit the B key for the brush. Okay. And we're going to just fill that in very quickly. So you want to work with some nice solid shapes at this point. Now let's get the other side of the M. Make my brush a little bit bigger. So I will start it probably right about there. Tap and release. Hold the shift key. And I think we'll go ahead and stop it right at the base. Okay. Go over to the B itself, click and release. I'll do the same, click and release here. End there. I'm going to make it my three little shapes. There we go. And of course, all this is going to join the B like so. Okay, so if we turn off the one on the bottom, that's looking a lot better. I think it's looking a lot better. In fact, I'm considering even altering this to a 3D object to create my overall logo. All right, so we're not done yet. Let's go. Let's keep playing. Let's make a new layer, and let's consider other possibilities. I think what I'd like to do is modify the existing layer that I have now. So I'm going to target it once again. I'm going to use Command or Control J. That'll duplicate my layer. And let's see if I can just modify that initial layer rather than doing it from scratch again in a brand new layer that I had selected. I'll go ahead and target that new one I had initially created and go ahead and take it off. Now from here, let's do something different. Now let's change the color of this. So Command U for Hue and Saturation. So you can get a Hue and Saturation dialog box. It's also located under Image Adjustments, Hue and Saturation. But I can come to Hue and Saturation and just alter these colors. So why don't we take it to like that color blue. And if we grab the eyedropper tool, which is I on your keyboard, or the fourth tool down on the left hand side, I can target that blue so that my foreground color becomes that blue. Your foreground color will be the color that Photoshop will pull from. Alright, so if I go back to my B key, if I use my brush again, it's going to pull from that color. Now, what I like to do is make it thicker in some areas. So what I'll do is I'll tap and release here, hold the Shift key, and come straight down. Then thicken that up a little bit. Alright, and I'm going to do the same thing here, where that's just a little smaller brush, hitting the bracket key to the left from here. If I want to taper it, tap and release, and then I'll bring this up and make it thicker right about there. That's a little bit off, way off on that one. So I'll get in closer because I'm too far away. Hit the E key just to get rid of that. Okay. Go back to hit the B key as in boy. Tap and release here, and then hit the Shift key, and let's go right about there. Good. So now I can make my brush a little bigger just to quickly paint in or fill in these areas. So I'm making a thicker effect here. I'm definitely want to make some adjustments here. I want to make this much thicker. So I think what I'll do is I will just go to here, hold the Shift key, and come straight down. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's looking a lot more interesting. I'm going to do the same right about here. Let's make the brush smaller so I can taper it off correctly. Tap and release, hold the Shift key, and grab that. Make it bigger. There we are. This little area is a little funky right in here. I want to make it a little bit more linear, a lot more linear. So how about if I tap and release here, hold the Shift key, and there we go. And then tap and release at the top, hold the Shift key, and there we go. That gives a little more of a linear feel to it. Let's go to the top here, the left side of the M. I think these areas here are too far away from that point. So I'm going to go to my L key, because the key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. I'm going to select the areas that I want to move. I'm on the right layer, and I have to select the tool that's going to allow me to move it, the Move tool. And if I have the move tool selected, I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard to nudge it on over where I want it to be. So I'm going to bring it over a little closer, like so. I can. You can see the other colors in the bottom may give you some ideas of how to alter this logo with other colors, or add other colors to the logo to complete it. So Command D, that's the deselect, where the selections were coming from, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn off this one on the bottom. Okay. All right, now taking a look at this. This gives me a good idea of where I might want to go. So now I can probably consider altering this to vector shapes. But before I do so, I want to just add a few little extra modifications. I'm thinking probably right up here, right in interior of the S here, that this can be, I'm going to hit the B key on the keyboard, that can be a little larger. So make the brush a little larger, tap and release, Shift, straight down. Yeah, I think that'll be nice. It matches what's going on here in the bottom of the S. This is a thicker area, so we're going to need to just balance that out there a little bit more. Now I have other options here. I can select one little piece and decide to transform it too if I want to make some modifications. So here is the left side of my M. And if I hit my Command T for free transform, I can enlarge it, right? And or holding the Shift key, I can stretch it out a little bit and then just move it up to where I want it to be. Okay, and Command D for the okay. So again, it's just a game here we're playing with. If I come over to my rectangular tool, because I want to make sure that this is completely vertical, And what's happening is that the edge of this is pointing too much at the S rather than coming straight down. So I think what I'm going to do is select it. I'm on the proper layer, hit delete key on the keyboard to do something like this. Now that edge may be a little bit too sharp. That's fine, because I'm going to inverse the selection. I'll leave that exactly as it is. I want to Command D to get rid of selection. I can, thicken this up with the brush. So go to the B key, make the brush. Let's go ahead and get a little closer. Okay. And I'm having some other thoughts for the other areas as well. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down and go ahead and give this a little bit of a thicker edge there. That's going to represent the point. So select it, holding the shift key there. That's a little nicer. Okay, SMB. All right, now this needs to be modified. I'm going to go to some selection tools that's going to assist me in doing this. I'm going to start kind of etching this out or cutting areas out. I've been using my Lasso Tool, which is the second tool down on the left hand side. If I click and hold on it, and I know that because I have this little small teeny little triangle there, which is telling me that there's more options, selection options. If I go past the Lasso Tool and target Polygonal Lasso Tool, I can start, sculpting out some of the shapes. So this pole here is a little bit too flat. It's a little bit too. I want to give it a little bit more of an angular flow. So I'm going to click and release. This is a freehand selection tool that gives you straight lines and get that shape there. So I'm selecting this little shape right on the edge of this of that stroke, and I can even move this on over so I can get something like this. There we go. Then hit the delete key. We'll cut it out. So it's giving me a nice little angle there, something to play with. Okay, on the base of this, I'm gonna go ahead and use that same tool just to select this shape. Okay, I'm going to strategize here. Once that shape is selected, Command T for free transform, which is going to transform my subject here. Holding the shift key, I can pull it down, straight down, so that at the base of this B here, I'm going to hit enter to commit my changes. Hit Command or Control D to get rid of the selections. Now I'm going to grab the rectangular marquee just so that I can match the base up there, and hit delete, and that'll cut everything else to give it a nice little flat base there. I'm going to have to bring the S down to also match this as well, which will be pretty simple to do. So I might decide that this might be where I want to go with this. I'm thinking the B may be a little bit too long horizontally, so maybe use that same tool again, which is my rectangular selection tool, and go something right about there, and then hit the delete key. Yeah, gives a little more of a balance, and just kind of look at the spacing. So this could serve as my my logo piece, for my website.